Time is starting now, Nick.
We're here with Micah Sherman, who's a cast member of the Second City, I guess, entourage or touring company. How would you refer to it? The company.
It's a Second City regional show.
And it's two people from Improv Asylum and
right,
four
two
people.
Two cast members from the Improv Asylum main stage and four cast members from the Second City in Chicago.
And this is the third night that you've been doing shows? You started Tuesday?
Yeah, we had two preview nights, and tonight was our opening night.
How have they been going so far?
They've been going great. We've been tweaking things for the preview night, and tonight was the show that the rest of the audiences are going to see.
How did you wind up on the Second City show? How did you get hooked up with these folks?
I auditioned here with some other Improv Asylum members, and then they flew me out for rehearsals in Chicago.
Had you been a fan, or had you ever studied with any Second City people?
Yeah, I lived in Chicago for a couple of years before actually the Improv Asylum came and auditioned me in Chicago when I was living there, and then they moved me out here, and so now I've gone back. I auditioned here for Second City, and I went back to Chicago for rehearsals, and then they flew me back here, and now I'm doing shows in Boston again.
Is there a big difference between performing with Second City and performing with Improv Asylum?
It's a fairly similar show. The Improv Asylum show incorporates a lot more straightforward improv structures and games, and the Second City show is a little more theatrical. Like there's a proscenium stage, whereas the Improv Asylum's theater in the round, and it's primarily sketch. It's almost all sketch, the show here.
Is there a certain chemistry that's different as well with people who've studied the Second City versus people who came up through Improv Asylum?
I mean, it's pretty much the same language. I mean, we're all speaking the language of Del Close improvisation, you know? So, I mean, the Improv Asylum business structure, I think, is pretty similar to Second City. So they sort of modeled themselves after Second City. So I think it's a great partnership for the two theaters to be working here in Boston together.
And you mainly learned? Would you say you mainly learned from Improv Asylum, or did you say you mainly?
I mainly learned in Chicago. I studied at I.O. in Chicago, and took a couple classes at Second City and the Annoyance Theater there. So that's where I had the majority of my training. But like the real life performance in front of paying audience members was here in Boston at Improv Asylum.
And the format of the show is part sketch, part improv. Is that the?
I mean, it's mostly sketch. It's 2 acts of sketch comedy that's very tight. It's a slick show. I have one of the only improv pieces in the show, which is like musical piece where I play guitar and sing a few songs based on me talking to the audience in character.
What do you think people generally think improv is? It seems like they're like a lot of people for a while thought it was whose line is it anyways. That sort of faded. I think now I'm not sure what people think.
You know, I'm not very in touch with people, so I don't know what the majority of Boston thinks. I don't know what the majority of America thinks about improvisation. Whose Line Is It Anyway hasn't been on the air for a while. I think they still run reruns on ABC Family, maybe. But I think a lot of people are pretty hip and have been to a live improv show before, particularly if they live in a big city. But the Second City does a great job with their touring companies of going around to smaller cities in the United States and showing them some Second City improv and sketch comedy. I think. I don't know. It could be. I could be talking out of my ass here. Well, that's what I think, though.
That's fun too.
Yeah.
Talking out of your ass.
We'll do an asshole interview after this.
Yeah, we'll put them split screen. So you also do stand-up. Is that something that you feel takes a different skill or a different attitude to
stand-up is much more pure than what I'm doing with Second City here. It's much more pure comedy. with the show I'm doing now, there's a lot of theatrics involved. It's almost like being in a play, and it kind of reminds me of like the musicals that I did in high school. It's like I'm backstage, like watching the action on stage, like ooh, and it's a lot of like going to the props table and picking stuff up, and with stand-up, you're just reliant on yourself to write good jokes and perform good jokes and perform good material. And if your material sucks and you're a good performer, then that might work. And if your performance sucks and your material's good, then that might work. But with the show that I'm doing right now at Second City, we have a lot more behind us than just a man and a microphone. There's props. We deal with like chairs a lot. We do a lot. It's much more scenic.
But does the improv and sketch training inform the performance part of your stand-up?
Yeah, it does, but probably to my detriment.
In what way?
With stand-up, I mean, it's a daily grind. You're going to get good at stand-up if you just keep doing stand-up, or not. I mean, if you're just like tragically unfunny. But if you've got a good thing going, and you perform stand-up regularly, you're going to improve. Whereas I do a lot of improvisation and sketch comedy on nights that I could be doing stand-up, and so my stand-up doesn't improve because of that, because I've been focused on something else. It's a different muscle, I think.